Blake,
Hey,
good to be back in the studio,
we're back.
man.
Good to see you.
It's always good to catch up and see what you have going on. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we kind of did like a gut check on the last episode, kind of saw how your July was going. And
Yeah.
it's always good to kind of get a pulse on what the market's doing and everything that's happening in your world and the world of real estate. But I always look forward to these episodes where we talk about, and for anybody who is not up to speed, you have purchased a castle on the lake. It's a full-blown castle. We've been talking about it in several episodes, so I encourage anybody that wants to kind of hear some of those early episodes about how you acquired it, all the things you've been doing up to this point. The goal is to Airbnb this place, and it's like a very unique property, and so anybody that's interested in hearing that, hearing the story of how you acquired that, I would definitely encourage them to check it out. But a lot of work going on. I see all the videos that you post on TikTok and Instagram and stuff, and kind of give us, because it's a huge deal to get this property up to speed.
Yes.
There was a secondary property that was also connected that you guys are just fixing up and selling. And so what's been going on? Bring me up to speed. The past month. The castle
on the lake. So I went into AI chat. What's it called? Chat GPT.
Chat GPT, yeah.
And I'm trying to get we need a name for it.
I was about to ask you.
Yeah.
Do you have a name for it?
So I went in there and I was like, give me 10 names for a castle in the woods on the water or on the lake. And it didn't give me anything I loved. So I don't know. We're still brainstorming. So if you think of something or anyone listening to this, shoot us a message.
Yeah, leave a comment, something like that. Yeah.
It's very unique. But yeah, so update. So we'll start with the guest house, the second house you mentioned. We're gonna flip it. It's coming to the end. So finishes are in. We got countertops coming in next week. So we're on the back end of it. It's painted. Really, what we're working on in the next week is getting the septic. We got to redo the fill lines because they were overgrown and crushed, or all the stuff. Landscaping was crushing it. So a lot of stuff to button up. Small things to button up there, but
so do you have to dig up the septic tank and?
So we had to clean it, right? So it's got a
pump
lid,
it out or whatever.
So we pumped it out, and the inside of the tank itself is good. I mean, basically, if you don't,
just a concrete block.
that's all it is.
That's all it is.
Yeah. So it's it's hard for those to go bad, but the lid, it's concrete lid, but roots have just kind of crushed it. So we got to get a new lid. The inlet's cracked where it's filled up with roots, and the outlet that goes to the fill lines is also cracked and messed up. And so basically from the tank down to where it all percolates into the ground, we've got to redo all that, which isn't a huge deal. It's got to get done. So working on that. And then hopefully I'm thinking 3 to 4 weeks from now, we've got it up for sale.
Okay.
So
awesome.
If you know anyone looking for a lake house.
What do you think you're going to be asking for this property?
Probably mid fives.
Okay.
Maybe around 550, 575. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
It's waterfront, Lake Logan Martin. Is that correct?
Yeah, Logan Martin, kind of on the southern side in Alpine, right by Clear Creek Marina. It'll be next to a castle, right? So that's got to be a selling point.
It will be next to a castle.
Yeah. And it's
Are you going to put a fence up or anything? Or
aesthetic, like landscape barrier kind of thing. I mean, not like a line of trees going down, but they'll be where it is now. The same guy owned them, and so he would walk back and forth. There's like a path between them, and we'll make a little parking pad, and then just kind of like an end, like a railroad tie with some bushes or something, and just kind of say, hey, this is where the property stops.
Okay.
Just like an aesthetic barrier, if you will.
Sure.
So that one's finishing up, and then the castle. So the past 3 weeks, we've had tree guys out there. It was so this thing to kind of put it in perspective or words of how overgrown this area was. It's not a huge lot. It's probably a half acre. But from the water and from the road, you could not see the property. Couldn't see the house. Zero structure.
Overgrown.
It was just a jungle.
Yeah.
And so we went in with some tree guys and just said, we basically marked what we want to leave, which is just like 10 or less big hardwoods. And that's it. Everything else got mulched. And so he came in there, cut a ton of trees down. A lot of them were dead because they were just overgrown with vines. They were vines. It just looked like something out of the Jungle Book or something. I mean,
Jumanji, yeah.
Seriously, there were vines bigger than trees coming out of the ground, going up these things. It was something I was like, we're in Alabama right now?
That's crazy.
It looked nuts. And so they spent literally 3 weeks just mulching the whole thing. And so now, kind of cool, we got a ground cover of mulch. We got some cleaning we've got to do. They found a bunch of trash all in there. So Still got to clean it all up, but now we can actually see. So we've got a landscape architect that's actually in Rachel's family who we've got a survey coming this week. He's going to take that and help kind of lay out where things are going to go. So we've got a general idea of walking paths on the property because there's 4 different buildings basically. So we've got walking paths through there.
I bet he's excited to work on something like that.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's unique, kind of a once-in-a-lifetime thing. This week, after Rachel and I spent a little time playing putt-putt, decided we need a 9-hole putt-putt course on this property.
You mentioned that on the last time we talked about the castle, and I was wondering if you were going to move forward with that. And
so,
how does one even you call 1-800-putt-putt?
Well,
who do you call
you
to
can,
even do that?
And it's anywhere from $50,000 to $90,000.
Get like a professional course made.
And I'm like, that's crazy. We're not.
You're just gonna do it yourself, I would imagine.
Yeah. So I've got my concrete guy who's not just a concrete guy. He does all things landscaping, but he's kind of creative mind. And he said he's got a designer who could tackle something like that. So I'm still waiting on him to come back to give me kind of some design ideas and some pricing. But I'm thinking it's going to be 15 to 20 is kind of what I'm anticipating, which I think is worth it all day because if you're a group, there's less than 5 properties on the entire lake on Airbnb advertised. It'll sleep more than 14 people, and we'll be one of them. And so if you're a party wanting to go to a lake place with a big group, if you see a castle over the others, that's going to hopefully give it a little leg up.
A little bit, yeah.
But if it also has a putt-putt course, it's a no-brainer, especially if it's priced about the same, which I think initially we will be.
Just to kind of get the word out.
Yeah. So we're doing that. Past couple of days, I've been watching YouTube on how to build a pickleball court. So we may put one of those out there.
Sure, why not? While you're at it, go ahead and do a volleyball court.
Well,
fill it with some sand.
Yeah. It's just there's so much space. So we're getting it resurveyed to where we're going to grab a lot of the property because both of them are just similar, identical rectangles that go from road to water. And so, but the guest house that we're going to sell, it's just the top side of it. The house is close to the water. So the top 2/3 of the property is just woods. And it's really unusable for that house. And so we're going to grab a lot of that and keep it with the castle. And so we've got a ton of room to do kind of any.
If you own both properties, how hard is it to do that, to resurvey the land?
It's not a big deal.
Just draw the
It'll
lines.
cost a couple $1,000, and it's just time with the county.
Okay.
Which really, I say we're going to finish the guest house in 3 to 4 weeks, but the county's not going to be done resurveying it, so I'm probably going to have to sit and wait for them to get that done before we can actually sell it, close on it.
But you're not really taking away a lot from the guest house that'll be sold.
Yeah,
I just unused
woods
area anyway.
Yeah, it's unused. It's uphill. It's pretty not very valuable land for that property, but for what we could do from an amenity standpoint, I think is pretty valuable for the castle. So we're gonna hold on to that. So the exterior is
that's the fun stuff.
It is, man. Cool. And the outside of the actual structure, we've cleaned it, pressure washed it. We can see what's missing, what's rotten, what's broken now, where earlier it was just covered in vines initially. So now we can actually see what we're dealing with, which has been tough to get pricing when guys don't know what they're pricing. Got a trim guy that's coming and saying, I can't see half the thing, so I can give you a price, but it's going to be sky high because I don't know what I'm doing.
Protect myself, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what about interior? What's the latest on that?
Interior demolition finished last week.
Okay, so it's been completely demoed.
Completely demoed. So it is. Flooring's gone. Of course, all the stuff's it's been out for a while, but bathrooms are gutted, kitchen's gutted. It's all the carpet off the walls. Right, there's
carpeted walls. Yeah,
lots of carpeted walls. So all that's gone. So now's the fun part of we've been in kind of design phase for a little bit, but now again there's so much stuff in there. It's hard to see really what we're dealing with. Now that it's kind of a clean slate inside and out, it's like okay, now where are we going? What's next? So they're not going back with carpet on the walls. Disappointing for a lot of people, I know, but we are exploring a lot of wallpaper and getting some really cool castle-y designs on wallpaper and getting.
Where does one even go? I mean, I'm sure you know people, but yeah,
finding a wallpaperer is hard.
Is that even like a thing? Do people?
It's hard.
I guess
There's one guy, a friend of a friend who lives in California, who does it. Who's apparently one of the best in the country. Sounds expensive, hadn't talked to him yet. There's a couple people in town that I haven't called yet, just because I don't have my scope of work together enough to where I can go to them and say, here's the job.
Yeah.
It would just be, hey, you wallpaper right? All right, cool. Call you later. All right.
Thanks. Yeah.
So So we've got that coming. We've made orders on a lot of our plumbing fixtures because the next step is rough in electrical and plumbing, and they've got to know, they've got to put the valve in that comes with the fixture. They've got to know where to pipe things. And so we've started to make those orders. The master bath in this place is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for it. We've got, it's going to be, a vanity, a toilet. The toilet's black and it's got this sword lid on it that we kept that was already there. And then we're going to have just a panel of glass in a wet room. And it's all black and gold tile, like the whole room. And
already, or it's going to be?
No, it's going to be. Yeah,
okay.
It will be. And we'll have gold fixtures, so big rain head coming down. And then you've walked through that space. There's a black clawfoot tub with gold feet. And the faucet coming out of the wall is a dragon.
Oh my gosh! Wow, it's like something like Game of Thrones or something.
It is, man. I'm so excited about how that's going to come together. So yeah, it's been fun just looking, looking up stuff you would never search for, like a dragon faucet.
Right.
Right, and then finding it.
Especially somebody like you who's probably looked for, countless times. How many times you look for faucets and fixtures and stuff, and finally getting to do something creative and fun.
Yeah, and
break the mold.
Yeah, last episode we kind of talked about the Jamestown flip, getting to do things that probably weren't the best financial decisions, but just getting to be creative and doing something a little different and having like a sense of pride in that work.
Yeah,
it's going to be full send in the castle on that standpoint because it's not a flip, so there's no there is a budget, but there's no it's selling for this, so we cannot pass this number. We have to have. There's really none of that. To an extent, and this is where I need checks and balances on this. But to an extent, the nicer we make it, the more we can make, right? If it's got a putt course and a basketball court and a pickleball court, arguably we could charge more per night than not having those things. Mm-hmm. And so now eventually you got to draw the line somewhere and say, I'm not going to spend $2 million on this place because there is a ceiling on what people will actually pay. But to an extent, if you spend a little bit extra on making it just just lean straight all full into the castle theme, then I think it allows you to up the income.
What's the latest on the drawbridge? This does have a drawbridge front door,
yep.
And you were trying to work out the kinks about getting that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it functions now, but maybe getting it more automated or something like that. What's the latest on that?
And my idea is people walk up. You've got a parking pad kind of up top. You walk down the stone path that we're creating that's lighted, especially in the night. It's gonna be awesome walking in, and then you've got a 8-foot gap between where you stand and the property, and there's a 20-foot drop, and that's existing. That's there now. And then I'm going to add a keypad, and you punch the code in the keypad that we give you, and this drawbridge comes down. Massive chains, old squeaky pulleys, and it's like medieval. It just comes down. And so the drawbridge, the chains, the pulleys, all that exists, but it's all manual right now, and you can only do it from the inside. And so you basically got to walk all the way around, come in, and do it. And so we want to make that automated. The idea on how to execute that is in my head, but I have not pursued all right, let's make this a reality. Mm-hmm. And we're, I don't want it installed yet because for the next 6 months I'm going to have trades running in and out. They're going to break it, right? So while I do need probably a month or two of it being used to work out the kinks, because it's going to be
right now it's just down. I guess you just leave it down.
Actually. Well, I don't just leave it down all the time because it is wood. Okay. And so it's treated and we'll put a coating on it, but I don't want it, the more it's up, the less it's exposed to.
I guess there's other ways to access the building.
There is. So if you go down, and this will change, but if you go down the guest house driveway, then it's got that little walking path I mentioned that goes to the middle of the castle where it's you can go left or right to the top side or bottom side of the castle. Yeah. And so that's really a more practical, depending on where you're working that day, a more practical way to get in. But yeah, getting that drawbridge automated is going to be more of a focus in a couple months. I'll maybe go ahead, and I got to find somebody.
I got a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah. Yeah, but the idea is having 2 winches, like UTV, some kind of winch. Is that the all-terrain vehicle?
ATV.
ATV. That's what I'm thinking of. In ATV, 2 winches that basically are hooked to both sides that are, I've got to find someone to build a system that talks to them to tell it to winch up and down to get the.
Yeah. I don't think you'd have too much trouble finding somebody to do that.
Yeah.
I think when we first met, you may have mentioned a couple of Airbnbs. I know you're not like big into the Airbnb space, and I use Airbnb as a quote catch-all for like
short-term rental.
Short-term rental. Yeah. But you do have some experience. What experience is that, and what are maybe some of the, if you will, challenges to doing short-term rentals?
It's more hands-on, from my understanding. So you're right. I don't have a ton of experience. I have a lot of people around me that are doing it and showing me their numbers, and it's like twice as much as long-term rentals. So, I've got that draw, trying not to have the shiny object syndrome of going all in. But, of course, when a castle opportunity presents itself, you got to jump on it.
Sure, yeah.
So, but no, I don't have a ton of experience. I've had a couple people come to me and Airbnb arbitrage my properties. And so they'll sign a 12-month lease with me for my property, and then they'll go out and Airbnb
They're
it.
subletting it or
whatever. Same thing. And so I've got to be involved. And one of those is actively going on in one of our houses in Southside right now. And it's been cool to learn and see how they operate. But it's a job. I kind of look at it as like flipping a house. Like if you're not actively staying on top of it, then it's less passive than the long-term stuff. But with that comes the potential for more return.
Sure.
And so venturing into this this castle is going to be our full introduction. And my goal is, obviously I know it's not going to be set it and leave it, but try to automate a lot of the systems in it just so it's not a full-time job for me because I don't have time for it.
Yeah, I was about to say, man. Yeah, I can imagine just getting somebody in there to clean it for the next crew of people that's coming is a major challenge. I mean, it's a big property.
And that's part of my learning time now is, there are so many systems and apps and companies that are focused around automation for owners of Airbnbs. And so, and automating the cleaning and the scheduling and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
So learning which one I want to use. There's a couple big ones out there that I'm looking at. And I think we'll end up pulling the trigger on one of them. But kind of like finding the right tenants for your property, you got to find the right cleaner that fits, that's going to do a good job that you can rely on.
And I guess the money has to make sense at the end of the day versus, paying like all this, I don't know what the cost is going to be to get somebody to clean a castle, but I'm sure it's not going to be cheap.
Yeah, because it's big. And it'll be like, I was thinking about this week, it's like, well, we'll have turf on if we do a putt-putt course, and like it's kind of in the woods. Or if we do a pickleball
leaves on
court,
the turf, and you got to keep it clean.
Like it's part of their responsibility, just going to be get a little blower and blow it off.
You got to keep the putt-putt course clean,
Yeah.
find all the lost balls or replace the lost balls.
Yeah,
man, that's like a whole new world of challenges that you have to think about, and I'm sure it could be overwhelming, but at the same time exciting.
It is, man. I'm fired up. I think it's going to be great. I think there'll be a time, definitely a learning curve, no question about it, but there'll be a time in the first little bit that it's kind of a trial and error, and I think I've said this to you before, but before we go live, we've got to throw a couple parties there to see what works and what doesn't work. And
sure.
So.
I'm first in line, man.
You have to come out?
Yeah, you let me know. I've already told a couple of my family members. I'm like,
go do it.
my buddy Blake has got this property in the works, and we're going to get to stay there. So get ready. We'll be the guinea pigs.
Yeah.
I would imagine, like any Airbnb, especially in a more vacation style atmosphere, people are kind of wanting to cut loose a little bit. I mean, what if the dragon head gets broken? What do you do then? Can you speak to some of the challenges that maybe you did experience with some of your other short-term rental properties and what that's like and how you handle those? I mean, I guess you hire like a groundskeeper or like you have a maintenance guy that lives in that area on call, and it's like, hey, somebody broke the dragon head. Can you go put that back on the wall for me or whatever?
Yeah, that would be the idea is, the cleaner's different from the maintenance guy, but who are going to be our team members for this? And again, we're still going through that learning period, not having a ton of experience in the space and talking with a lot of people that are in the space already of who are the team members that we need to make this a great experience for guests. And a groundskeeper / maintenance guy is kind of that person. The area that we're in it's a big second home lake house community, but there's also a lot of like retirees around there. And this may be a dumb idea. I'm still fishing it out, but if I can go find, a guy that's retired that just lives out there that doesn't have a ton to do.
Just sell him that guest house, and he's like, he lives on property. There you
go. But having them close to say, we need it. If you have experience in this, we need a maintenance guy. We need someone to take care of the yard and all the upkeep.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Cool. I think you had mentioned this place being on the water. I imagine there's going to be a pier, and we talked about that last time, or a dock, or whatever you want to
Yep,
call
we're
it.
gonna build a dock.
So that's still in the works, I guess, as far as getting that built.
Yeah, we've got to solidify that design and lock somebody in sooner than later, because I've talked to 2 or 3 guys that are in the industry, and they're all like 2 to 3 months out.
Wow.
And so one of them was like 4 or 5 months out. And so
everybody wants docks built, I guess.
Yeah, they just take a while. I don't know. And so then in the next couple of weeks, our goal is to finalize a design, which is going to be unique in the sense of it won't have like a middle boat slip. And so when you Google a lot of designs, they all have middle boat slips, which you can just fill that in. But if someone wants to rent a boat or has one they want to take, they can just park it on the side. We'll have little cleats and stuff.
Will it have a roof on it, or is it going to be a covered
what
dock?
we're thinking about doing is doing a double decker.
Okay.
And then no roof on the top, but that part provides shade under it.
Sure, yeah.
And then having open space up there with maybe like a little door slide that goes into the water, and then open space. So it's not a full size double decker, but only partial is double, and then you've got some open space on the bottom as well that's open to the sky. That's kind of what's in my head right now.
Sure.
We'll see where pricing comes back, and we'll see where Rachel's ideas come back to as well.
Yeah, I would be curious what, with drawbridges and double-decker docks and water and all the things, I mean, like, to what degree do you have to make sure that these are safe and that, somebody doesn't, walking down the dark path at night, fall off in the moat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
No,
I'm sure that poses some challenges for sure.
It does. That's a very, very real conversation we've had around, and I've done a little bit of due diligence. Again, we've still got to do some homework on this, but the castle it'll never be to current code. Just period. It won't.
Okay.
We'd have to rebuild like the whole thing. And
so how are you getting around that?
Well, 2 things. One, Talladega County, there are no permits.
Okay.
There's no bill.
So that helps.
Kind of do what you want.
So if this castle was in Bluff Park, you'd have a little bit more of a challenge, getting that drawbridge.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Probably. So that helps because I guess technically there's no code. But just making it safe, right? Making sure that, and so some of that is unavoidable, like the drawbridge, right? It doesn't.
There's an element of risk that the person renting the place takes on when they sign on the dotted line.
Absolutely, and that's the biggest thing is we're going to be our ideas being very, very transparent about that in the listing. We've even talked about like suggesting an age limit of maybe like no small kids. Still a lot. But a lot of stuff to figure out still. And so, but just, again, being very transparent on the listing, having signs there, just, encouraging safety. But at the end of the day,
I think we talked about that a little bit in the last episode, but I'm sure that'll come up more as you kind of get closer and closer. It's like, okay, well, how do we keep someone like me or anybody from getting hurt? Because I don't have a lot of experience around moats or drawbridges. It's like, I can imagine that's a lot of challenges.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. One cool thing that we found is I think we've talked about the troll dungeon a little bit.
Remind me. Yeah, I don't know if we did or not.
If you're standing on it's actually concrete. I thought it was dirt. We found a whole concrete pad under the dirt as we started cleaning it. But you're standing on there looking at the castle and the drawbridges in front of you. Under you, we found this like troll dungeon that is under the concrete, and it's like 6-foot ceilings or maybe 5.5. I got to duck a little bit. I'm 5'8", and it's 150 square feet, and it's just like this little dungeon.
What?
And it's got this wooden door, like a hand-built wooden door that has iron on it. I mean, it is like it's what you would imagine a troll room looks like. And then we also found a drain at the top of the concrete. Outside of the troll dungeon, there's like this fountain-looking thing, and we couldn't figure out what it was. But the drain's right above it, and it feeds the fountain to come down and like turn into a little pond. It's the craziest thing.
I can't even wrap my brain around it. I'm gonna have to see that.
I'll have to do one. When I'm out there and it rains, I'll have to do a video of like the whole thing.
Okay.
It's just, I don't know. The guy who built this was just his imagination just ran wild.
Wow.
He did some cool stuff.
Well, that is awesome. And just remind anybody listening, what is your goal at getting this place up and running and open to the public?
So the goal is to have it live, ready for tenants or ready for guests next spring.
Okay.
So we would take the rest of this summer over the winter to get it up and going, try it out, make sure it's working right. And then as soon as it starts getting warm and it's lake season, we want to be on market.
I hear you. Well, best of luck. Always good to check in on the castle project. And, just there's not a lot of realtors out there doing a flip on a castle. So,
no, it's definitely unique.
It's very unique.
It's been fun having, putting it out on social media, having people I've never met or different parts of the country reach out and just ask about it.
Whoa, dude! What is this?
Yeah, it's been fun.
And hearing the story behind it and stuff. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw about 2-3 weeks ago. I think AL.com, a lot of news stations picked it up. There's actually Arc Realty has a castle listed on Smith Lake for $4.9 million.
Whoa, okay, maybe I did.
It's like the castle of Smith Lake, if you know.
The only thing I've seen is Saban bought a new place at like Jupiter Island, and everybody's been talking about that. He spent like $17 million on this like beachfront property. I've never even heard of Jupiter Island. I was like Googling it, and it's not somewhere I probably will ever get to visit. It's like for the 1%. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, it was funny because I had more than a couple people reach out thinking that was my castle.
Oh, really?
Shoot, it's not a.
I bet you would get some press, like once it's open. Like, reach out to a couple of places. I don't know what that's like.
Mcknown called me and wanted to do an interview on mine because they heard about it through. I don't even know how they
through this podcast.
Through this podcast is how they found it. And so I actually had Mcknown reach out while the $5 million Smith Lake castle was going on, and they wanted to do an interview on mine, but they wanted like a ton of pictures and like a finished product basically. And I was like, I don't have that. It is rough looking right now. And so he was like, all right, well, let's just table it. We'll stay in touch. And once it's done, he said they wanted to come out and do like
definitely
a whole article.
And do a whole article on it because it's interesting. It's cool. And, all press is good press. So, I think that's rad. And I think once the word gets out, man, I don't think you'll have a problem booking it, especially if there's, not only is it probably only one of two castles on the water, but, being able to hold the amount of people that it can hold. I think you're setting yourself up pretty well to do well with it. Yeah. Another question I had, you said the demo was done. You guys got it ready to go. What happened to most of the stuff? Because that was another cool thing that you're posting and on TikTok and stuff. It's just like you found a gun, you found swords, you found like all these neat artifacts and stuff, or at least all the ones that didn't say "Made in China,"
right? Or covered in mold.
I'm sure. Like what happened to a lot of that stuff that didn't get thrown away?
Yeah. So anything that was porous or fibrous that just was too far gone.
I guess a lot of stuff would get thrown away. It was like, how many dumpsters did you guys fill?
We're on number 15.
15.
40-yard dumpsters.
Wow. That's like a lot of junk.
Oh my gosh, so much. I mean, we've got $700 a dumpster. I mean, that's.
Hopefully there wasn't a satchel of money, in there somewhere. Yeah.
Well, that's why I spent personally so much time out there in the beginning, is kind of staying one room ahead of the guys. Of
just to make sure there wasn't something super valuable.
And I did find a sack of money. It was a sack of nickels.
Oh, okay. There you go.
About $3 in nickels. So there are multiple buildings, like I alluded to earlier, on the property. There's 3 storage sheds. One of them's by the front drawbridge. We're keeping that one. It's packed full of stuff. The other 2 are where our parking pad is going to be, and they are both packed full of stuff as well, and all of our stuff fit in those 3. The parking pad needs to be done in the next couple weeks, really, because the landscaping guys will be there, and it's just the same crew, same material, same equipment. It just makes monetary sense to go and do it. So actually yesterday I had a shipping container. I bought one and put it out there, and either today or tomorrow, the guys are out there moving all the stuff into the shipping container.
And then will you move the shipping container later, or is it just there?
Yeah, so when we're done with it, so 6-7 months from now when we're finished, the guy I bought it from, actually, he's in the shipping container business and said he'll buy it back.
Oh, okay.
So I was looking at, can I get a pod?
And this is basically just a bigger pod.
So pods go up to 16 feet, and which I don't know if it's all going to fit in the 20, honestly, but I was like really, really hesitant to say, is it going to fit in a 16-foot pod? And that pod, at the end of the day, delivery and everything would have been about $1,900 for 7 months. The shipping container delivered was $2,550, so about $600 more. And I own it, and I get to sell it back. And the shipping container was $2,000, delivery was $550. And so even if he only gives me 1,000 back when I sell it back, like I'm still in the positive.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so it just made sense to buy it. And we were at dinner with someone this week, and he actually helped me get in contact with the shipping container guy. And he was like, man, don't sell it. Like, build it out, put it down by the water, and just rent it out as a bedroom. I was like, well, I guess I could. Yeah.
Possibilities are endless.
Put a little window unit in it and just cut a big glass window that faces the water.
That's all the rage, man. They're super inefficient, but with the
foam,
right work, you have spray foam and all that.
Yeah.
You can make it livable. I've seen people that do it.
It's not a hard no, but it's only a 20-foot shipping container.
Just add that to the list of things to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the guy, he wanted to sell me a 40, and I was like, that's way too big, and like, so.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, that's rad, and I look forward to the next conversation and the next month of stuff that you guys do. I'm sure you'll have plenty of ammo as far as stuff to talk about. So, I mentioned it once, but anybody listening that's interested in this very unique project that Blake's doing, follow him on social media or look out for that BHAM Now article that'll come out maybe before they go live official.
Yep.
But really cool, man.
Yeah.
So
always good to talk to you.
Always good to catch up, man. Take it easy.
See ya.